Hey guys, welcome again to Behind the Mic. I'm so glad that you're joining me and that you've taken time out of your day to listen to something that I think will be really edifying for you. I'm a radio talk show host as well, and I have my own talk show called Table Talks, right? With my co-host Debbie Coe, and it's actually on her station, WXJZ Digital Broadcasting, and it also airs on KYBN Radio out of LA. And what we talk about here is dream it, manifest it. The journey is real. This show is for dreamers, right? Anyone going after a dream, you definitely need the encouragement to stay on course, to stay on path, to fulfill this dream so it can impact the people that you came here as a carrier of the dream, to release the dream to the right people, right? And then what it does, it just is like a rippling effect, right? We need each other. So on Authentically Jessie, you're seeing all of what I do, the majority of what I do, which I'm spinning a lot of plates, but it's all pouring in to the lives of people where you can have more joy with Authentically Jessie. You can let your light shine more. You can find peace. You can find stability, and you can find joy while you're living out your dreams. So with Table Talks, there's no difference. It ties right in to this pool, and it flows into a larger ocean where it's very vast, very deep, with a lot of great information. And today's topic that I'm recording for Table Talks is the encounter. Spooky, right? Great, the encounter. I recently had an encounter. Can you recall ever having an encounter that sort of knocked you off your feet, or it was an awakening that you were not expecting? Well, that happened to me recently, and I think I've spoken about this before on one of the videos here at Authentically Jessie, but it's going to help empower you for when you do have those encounters where the ground shifts a little bit and you get redirected, or you have an aha moment, an awakening that expands your dream, right? So let's get started. I'm going to start recording now. One second, it just takes a moment to set this up. Okay, here we go. Ready? Okay. Welcome to Table Talks. I'm your host, Jessie Laine Powell. And today we are pulling the chairs a little bit closer for a conversation that might just really shift the ground beneath your feet, which is going to be a really good thing. We're going to talk about, and we are talking about on today's program, the encounter. I love that because the encounter just recently happened to me. And they happen throughout our lives. And we've got to know how to pivot when these things occur. Now, I'm not just talking about a mere casual meeting or nice to see you moment. I'm really talking about a spiritual collision that happens, right, that you least expect. That pivotal turning point where your purpose shifts from vague, maybe one day, ideal, into a undeniable conviction. You know, it's that moment where you move past the I think and I hope into a space, I would say, where you know that you know that you know that an encounter has happened and that a shift has occurred or is going to soon. Have you ever had a moment where the life you planned, it just somewhat slammed into destiny, and you were actually created for more, right? And when you realize that, you're a little bit uncomfortable. It can be a little startling, but honey, it is the only way to get to the truth of who you really are and why you are here on this earth. And an encounter can happen, it should happen throughout your life, right? To where you have to shift things in order to get where you're trying to go, reach the people you're trying to reach, get the finances that you need for that dream. Just a series of things. It is truly a journey. I want to get real with you just for a second, okay? Because I've lived this recently, and I'm talking about like within the last 6 months. You know, for over 40 years, I've known myself as a singer, a performer, a recording artist. That was my identity. Whenever I met someone, I just did it recently and had to catch myself. Hey, I'm Jessie Laine Powell. I'm a recording artist, you know. And after coming back from England, that really, unbeknownst to me, it shifted. After seeing the success of my album, My Love Journey, and the #1 hits that came off of that in Europe, when I returned, it was not business as usual. Truly it wasn't. God had a different path for that flight back home. And I realized that when I got on the plane, I had an encounter. And I didn't even realize that it happened when I got on the plane, but I really remember specifically when I boarded the plane in Manchester, England, and I was sitting there waiting to take off, and something was happening to me that I was not prepared for. You know, a realization started bubbling up that being a singer was just one room in the mansion of my purpose. Did you hear me say mansion? I didn't say a 2-bed room or a starter home, but it was only one room in the mansion of my purpose. I realized I had so much more to offer this world that lived outside of just music, writing, singing. Very important to me. It's been my primary gift. I embrace it. It always will be my primary gift. You know, it was about me really living out my authentic self. And that's the word that actually I wrote down on paper. Authentically me. When I got off the plane and I got in my office and I was sitting here and I was meditating and I was praying, I really heard the voice of the Lord say, you just have to be your authentic self. And that's very vast, that's very deep, and there's a lot more I'm wanting to release from you outside of the music. To be honest, it made me really uncomfortable, but then in another breath, I felt liberated. I felt freedom overtake me. You know, when you've been doing one thing for 4 decades, new feelings feel like a threat to you. It's like, what's happening here? What's going on here? This is unfamiliar. I'm not just thinking about lyrics. I'm not just thinking about music. I'm thinking about something that's totally out of my wheelhouse. But in all actuality, it wasn't. You know, the encounter didn't come to confuse me, is what I realized. It came to really liberate me and free me. I remember just having a big exhale, and I got a sheet of paper and I started just writing down all the things I love doing. And the one thing that I love is encouraging people, is helping people connect to their destiny, which I do on Table Talks, right? Helping them live it out, because I know this journey so well. Debbie knows it well. Winifred knows it well. Our guest each week knows it well. Melanie knows this journey well, right? From our own perspectives. And they tie into each other. You know, this encounter, it freed me to be my authentic self. Not just the version of me that people expected to see me just taking the stage to sing. Now, an encounter doesn't look the same for everyone, is what I want to say. You know, it just depends on what God is doing through you and what he is releasing from you. You know, the intentional shift, this is the quiet one, is what I would say. It's the late night realization where the career that used to satisfy you suddenly feels like a suit that's 2 sizes smaller, right? The dream for music for me, I believe, is going to always be a perfect fit, right? But for you, you may have outgrown that, right? I needed a larger suit because I was transforming and God was enlarging my territory. So when you get larger, you can't wear a size 8. You got to wear a size 12. And that's what was happening to me. And hopefully you can relate. Circumstantial collision. Okay, this is when a door closes or a window opens in a way you did not ask for. Like, you know, my trip back from England, you think you're going from point A to point B, but the encounter, it reroutes you to a destination you didn't even have on your map, right? Or it could be a spiritual assignment, right? The spiritual assignment. And what I call that is, this is when your job becomes an assignment. It's not just a job. And you really realize you aren't just working for a paycheck anymore. You are a solution to someone else's problem, honey. And for me, that was seeing I was a solution in that I was on stage and I was bringing so much light, and I am bringing so much light to so many people. But the assignment, right, the spiritual assignment, my territory was enlarged. And so not only was I going to be singing on stages, I was going to be creating a platform called Authentically Jessie on a YouTube channel, right? And unbeknownst to me, I met the person that does this professionally 5 months before I reached out to her. So I did not know this is how this was going to unfold. But guess who did? The creator of the dream did. So how do you handle it when the encounter happens? How do you move through that stream without drowning in the what ifs? All right, this is my take on it. Here's 3 things I've learned from the encounter. Embrace the discomfort. You know, if you're feeling a little bit shaky, I think that's really good, you know, because growth and comfort have never been roommates, right? And when you feel uncomfortable, it's often because your spirit is expanding to fit a larger assignment that you are not comfortable with yet. Don't run back to what seems familiar. You just need to move forward. You know, you got to move out of that safety zone. You know, the other thing is audit your shoulds. We often miss our encounter because we're too busy doing what we should do based on our past, right? Stop looking at your history to define your future, guys. I had to stop saying I should just focus on music so I can start saying I am called to something greater. I am called to something greater. I'm adding something else into the mix, and it's okay. It's okay. Thirdly, listen to the no. You know, there's a frequency of truth that doesn't require an explanation. When encounter happens, you won't have all the answers initially. I didn't even know how to unpack this authentically, Jessie, how to go about it, right? But you will have a peace that really surpasses understanding when you step into it. And what I want you to do is I really want you to follow the peace. It's your GPS. It's your GPS. It's going to carry you to the next stop and to the next stop. So as I close my segment, I really want to challenge you. Are you ignoring the encounter because you're afraid of the singer becoming the teacher? That's for me, right? Oh, that's so well put. The singer becoming the teacher. I'm becoming a teacher because I know how, you know, on Authentically Jessie, I know what it means not having joy. I know what it means chasing a dream. I know what it means finding more light into your life. I know what it means to have anxiety and you're trying to walk through that anxiety to get to the other side of just feeling, instead of anxiety, having alignment, right? I know all about this. Or it could be, are you afraid of the housewife becoming an author? What is your encounter? You know, freedom is on the other side of your yes. And when you embrace your encounter, it didn't take away, for me, it didn't take away my music. It gave music a deeper meaning for me. It made me authentically Jessie, which is vast, deep, and includes so many other things. Don't just find a career, guys. Collide with your destiny. I'm Jessie, and this is Table Talks.